Today I'm going to be tackling some plant care, and one of the things I'm really trying to stay on top of at the moment is pest control. This is my Monstera Thai constellation, and when I bought this one it had just a few juvenile thrips, so I've been really careful with this one. I've basically been wiping this one down just as often as I can, and what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be using this. So this, you dilute this in water. This is bug soap. So yeah, I think there's 4 refills on this, and you just dilute it with water and then spray it on. So that's all I've been doing. I've just been, well, I'm going to check if it needs water first, because if it does need watering then I can spray it on there, but if it does not, no, I don't think it does. Let's just check. It doesn't need watering, so just to be on the safe side, I'm not going to spray it on the leaves because it could run down and cause overwatering. So what I tend to do is, if a plant is not ready for water, I will take a cloth instead and just spray it on directly to the cloth, and then wipe down the leaves, both the fronts and the backs. And I've been doing this since I bought this plant. I mean, I do this with all my plants, but as I said, when I first bought this one it had just a few thrips on the back, but it was just the juvenile ones. But just to be on the safe side, I've just been really keeping on top of cleaning the leaves. I haven't used any chemicals or anything like that. I really don't like to use chemicals. Wherever possible, I try to just use soap, because it's better all round, better for the environment, better for us, better for the plant. So yeah, I just go around and give the leaves a good clean. And I haven't actually seen any thrips on this one, nor have I seen any damage, so that does lead me to believe that it was maybe just a couple, and there are no longer any on here. But just staying on top of it, because if you've ever had thrips then you'll know that one can never relax. They always come back eventually. So, I mean, to be honest with you, most of what I'm contending with at the moment is spider mites. That's really what I get in the winter time. With having the central heating on, they just absolutely love that environment. It's you know, really dry, and that's what they like. They do not like wet, so they definitely won't like this. But yeah, this bug soap is designed specifically for plants, so it's nice and gentle and it won't harm the leaves. But as I say, I'm looking at this now and I'm not seeing any damage whatsoever, so that tells me that there aren't any pests on here. I think just being consistent with my cleaning has really made sure that we didn't have any problems. And if this plant had needed watering, I would have just sprayed it right on there instead of doing this. With certain plants, like with this plant, there aren't many leaves, so it's pretty easy for me to just wipe them down. But there are some plants, of course, that have kind of really dense foliage, and with those ones I have to spray them really, because doing this is impossible. You can't get to all the crevices and things. But with this plant it's fine because it doesn't have that many leaves yet. So, right, I think that will do it for this one. I'll just do a double check. Can't see anything. Right, so I'll basically just repeat that in maybe in 5 days. I was doing it every 3 days, but I think now that we're kind of out of the woods, I don't have to do it quite so often. Okay, so before I do the next one, I'm just going to clean my moisture meter. Some bug soap, just in case there were any bugs on there. I always try to clean this in between plants because otherwise, if there is a pest, it could transfer, obviously. So let's just see what needs watering. I'm going to check this one. This one tends to need a lot of watering. This is my variegated peace lily. Yep, this one does need water. I'm trying to stay on top of this one because it suffered a little bit from underwatering, and it tends to get a bit of browning if I underwater it, but I think I'm back on top of it now, and it's putting out loads of new leaves too. That's a new one there, and another one there. So this is one of those plants that does tend to grow all year round, which is really nice. But because this one needs watering, watered the floor and myself, but because this one needs watering, I'm going to water it. But when I do the pest treatment, I can just spray directly on the leaves because I don't need to worry about overwatering. And I don't actually see any pests on this one, but I like to do this even when there aren't pests because it's best to prevent than it is to treat. So I always spray this stuff on every time the plant needs watering. This one's actually got loads of little babies in the soil as well, which is cool. Peace lilies are pretty good like that. They will put out new growth from the soil. You'll get extra plants popping out there, so it does eventually fill out, which is nice. But I'm not the biggest fan of normal peace lilies, but when it comes to the variegated ones, I quite like them. This one I really like. It's I've had this a while. I think I've had it, must be since last year, so quite some time, over a year. And yeah, I just needed to take better care of it really. At first I underwatered it because I do have a tendency to underwater plants because, you know, root rot is always a worry, but in this case it actually likes to stay moist, so I have to try to remember that I can't underwater it like I do some of my other plants. Right, so that's that one. The other thing to remember is if you've just sprayed your plant with bug soap and it's all wet, definitely don't put it under a grow light or in direct sun. This one's not going near a grow light, but I've got some grow lights on behind me, but if I was to do those plants, I would not put them back under the grow lights because it could burn. So yeah, do be careful of that. I'll just clean this off again. Let's just see what needs watering. Okay, this one does. This is my philodendron golden violin, and it's actually getting a bit heavy for that stick now. I'm going to have to give it another solution. I can see, can I see spider mites? I did have spider mites on this one, and again I've been spraying it down, but I'm not sure if it still has them. but I'm going to give it a water and then give it a spray down anyway. I have been finding, you know, a fair few spider mites lately. It happens every year at this time of year. As soon as the heating goes on, they're out. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, this is what I do basically for pest prevention. Just always spray down the leaves. Don't forget the backs as well. And pests are not a problem as long as we get them before they destroy the plant. Most of the time, the reason they end up becoming a problem is because we don't notice them soon enough. But if we notice them soon enough, then it's far easier to deal with them. And they shouldn't really demolish your plant. I know it's not the most glamorous part of keeping plants, but it is kind of essential. Because there's no way of avoiding pests, I'm afraid. They are just part of it. I'm just going to put that around that stick a little bit more there. I really like this plant. I'm looking forward to seeing it take off a bit more next year. I kind of bought this towards the end of the growing season, so haven't seen it do a huge amount yet. I wonder if it's root bound. I can see a few roots, but nothing major. Okay, if there were any spider mites on that one, then good luck to them, because I've just sprayed the heck out of that with bug soap. Just drain that out. That's another thing I like to try and do as well, is make sure I let the excess water out, because you don't want them sitting in water. That can cause problems, especially at this time of year when the pot takes longer to dry out than usual. Okay, what is next? There's always something that needs doing around here. I should have worn gloves really, because my hands are very sensitive to soap, but touch wood, I don't normally get that many problems from bug soap. But yeah, if I'm doing a lot of spraying all at once, then I might wear gloves. I'm just going to see if this Syngonium albo needs water. I don't think it does. With Syngoniums like this one, usually I'd keep it more moist during the summer, but at this time of year when it's warm, I will let it dry out a little bit more than usual. So I'm not going to water that yet. If we were in the middle of summer, I would have watered it, but we're not, so. Let's see if this one needs water. I think this one does actually. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to take it out of there. So this is my philodendron Florida green, and I think it's outgrowing its pot because it's in this tiny pot and it really is starting to topple over here, so I do need to give this one a different pot at some point. Definitely first thing spring I'm going to repot this one for sure. It definitely needs it. Okay, and again I'm just going to go in and spray. I haven't actually seen any pests on this one either, but I like to try and get ahead of the curve, so to speak, and just get them before they even set in. Because sometimes even if a plant has no visible pests, maybe it has some that are not quite visible yet. That can happen, and it's best to get them at that stage than wait until it's really bad. It's definitely far easier this way, especially when you have a lot of plants, because if you end up having a big outbreak and you have a large plant collection, it can be quite stressful, because there's obviously a lot to do. It's not the same, say, if you only have 1 or 2 plants. It's pretty easy to kind of stay on top of it then, but because I have so many, I've learned to, you know, get ahead of the curve, as I call it, and make sure I do this before it becomes a problem. I'm getting a bit wet now. Right, that's that one done. Let's just drain that off. I did really like having this one as a trailing plant, but unfortunately it just got really out of hand. It was obviously quite heavy and everything, so I had to put it back on a pole really, but never mind, it's okay. It is a really nice philodendron. I've always loved this one, and when I got one I was so excited, and I'm still in love with it, the same as I was when I first bought it. That's a good sign, isn't it, when you still love a plant as much. Some plants don't live up to expectation. You might have a plant on your wish list for years or whatever, and then you get it and you find out it's difficult to grow, or it just doesn't like your conditions. But this is one of those ones that did live up to expectations. Let's pop that back in its pot. I think I missed one there. No, I think it's okay. Right. One more down. Let's see what else we have to do here. I know that this one here, this big Schefflera, needs watering and spider mite treatment, but I'm going to have to put that one in the shower because it's big. I've just been to pick up some gloves because I really shouldn't be coming into contact with the soap. I don't know if there are any eczema sufferers out there, but if you are a sufferer of eczema, you'll know that you can't use soap on your skin. Eczema sufferers have to use a soap substitute. So yeah, this isn't great for me to have this on my skin. So yeah, I'm pretty sure this one needs watering. This is my Philodendron Prince of Orange. It might have a few spider mites, not sure. We are going to spray it anyway, just to make sure. This one's a pretty hardy plant, to be honest with you. I don't generally get problems with it. And this is one that also loves to carry on growing through the autumn winter months, which is nice. It's not the fastest grower in the world, but it's consistent, and it's a really satisfying plant to grow. I do love watching this one change colours as the leaves come out. It's really nice. Okay, let's give this a good spray. I think you're supposed to hold this a bit further away, but I just like to get in there. I always feel better when I've done this because I feel like the plant is kind of in a better place, so to speak. And if there were any pests on there, then they will not be on there any longer. Another good way of doing this, of course, is to just take them in the shower, but I mean, it is quite time consuming to do that, depending on how big your shower is. Personally, I have the smallest shower in the world. My bathroom is tiny, so I certainly couldn't film in there, that's for sure. But yeah, there's my philodendron Prince of Orange. All nice and soaked up and watered. Look how that orange is shining with the light. We've actually got a bit of sun coming through at the moment. Very rare, I know, but it's first thing in the morning. So I was up very early today because we had the electrician coming to fix our kitchen light, and so I decided to take advantage of the early morning and do some filming. But the window here does get the sun in the morning, so if it's bleaching me out a bit, I do apologise, but there isn't much I can do about it. Still, it's kind of nice to have a bit of sun, isn't it? Yeah, this is a plant that I am really looking forward to growing again next year. The more years I have with the plant, the more interesting and fun it gets, because I get to watch it grow up. So this was just the smallest little plant when I got it, and it had tiny little leaves, and now it's really starting to take off, and it's just been a pleasure to grow it. So yeah, looking forward to another growing season, and of course this can get much bigger, so I will look forward to seeing it get much bigger. Okay, that's that one done. I'm pretty sure my Monstera Adansonii mint is going to need water because it really needs a repot, so I think I'll grab that one and do that one. I will have to kind of try and shimmy around to get to it though, because it's in the window over there. Okay, so I did actually buy a support pole for this one, but I ended up using it for my philodendron Florida green. So it's still on this stick, and this stick really is not enough for it. I'm just going to quickly test the soil just to make doubly sure, because even though I'm pretty sure it needs water, yeah it does, I do like to check just to make sure. Yeah, but this one really needs a repot, and it needs a proper support, so I'll have to buy another support stick next time I go shopping for plant stuff. But I'm glad it's doing well anyway. I think definitely I'm noticing the variegation is a little bit lower now that we're in the December months. We're in December, so yeah, I think because with there being less light, it's definitely showing there's less variegation on it. But I'm pretty sure the variegation on this one in particular is not that stable anyway. It tends to fade really easily. So this one also does get spider mites really easily though, so it's important to keep up with the spraying. And because these ones have such thin leaves, spider mites can get out of hand pretty easily, and they can decimate the plant pretty quickly. So it's really important to stay on top of pest prevention. Well, it is for any plant, but there are certain plants that will suffer more than others, and this is one of those that's just got really thin leaves, and yeah, the spider mites can take this one down pretty quickly, so that's why I've tried to keep on top of this. What's that? No, nothing there. Yeah, I definitely recommend spraying this one every time you water, because, yep, spider mites love this one. If you're noticing your Monstera Ansonii going brown or yellow really quickly, I mean, it could be anything, but one of the things it could be is spider mites, so definitely check for that, because they're often quite difficult to see, and the first thing you do see is the damage that they do. But as long as you keep up with the pest prevention, you should be fine. This one is looking so beautiful. This was just a couple of really small cuttings that I had, my mum-in-law gave me, so it's now grown into this lovely big plant. And yeah, this stick, oh, I nearly fell over then. This stick really is not good enough for it right now. But for the time being, it's going to have to stay like this. It seems happy though, because it's still putting out plenty of new growth, which is good. I remember when I first started collecting plants, the Monstera Ansonii was one of those that I was just obsessed with. And I do have a green one still as well, but I was just utterly obsessed with it. And to be honest, I still love it. Maybe I'm not quite as obsessed with it as I was, but I still love it. Where can I put this? Just pop that there. I'm going to wait a little bit before I put that back in the windowsill. Even though it's not really bright sun, it's still a little bit sunny, so I'm going to wait. Let's see. I'll check these alocasias. Okay, I've double checked before I water. Again, alocasias, they do require their water to be cut back on a bit during this time of the year, because they're not growing as much. So usually in the middle of summer, I would never let my alocasias dry out completely, but when we're in autumn, winter, especially winter when it gets really cold and it's just not growing at all, I really cut back on the watering and make sure that I don't leave the soil wet for too long, because that's a good recipe for root rot. This one is going to be pretty easy to treat because it's got hardly any leaves, but let's give it some water. Now, alocasias are of course known for their spider mites, so it's really important to do this. To be honest though, alocasias get a really bad rap, don't they, for getting spider mites, but it's not just them that get spider mites. There are lots of other plants that do as well, and I wouldn't let that put you off, because as long as you stay on top of it, like I said before, and you don't kind of leave it for too long, then it should be fine. It's only when we leave it for too long and it ends up becoming a problem, because all plants get pests, but the only difference is we don't notice it in time, and then it ends up affecting the plant. So vigilance is key. And it is all a bit messy, but you know, that's plant care for you, isn't it? It is a bit messy. And because we've got the sun right now, you can kind of see how the red shines through. That's why it's called Red Secret. The sun's not so good for filming, unfortunately. It's kind of bleaching me out a bit, so I do apologise for that. Right, I have turned on my ND filter for you, so hopefully the light won't bleach me out quite so much now. Let's see. What else do I have to do? That might actually be it. Let me just wash that off before I test another one. That might be it. Let's see. Nope. Nope. I think that's going to be it for today because I don't see any more plants that actually need watering or treating right now. So I've ticked a few off the list for sure, but yeah, there are loads of plants, so there will be more to do tomorrow, but I've made a good dent in the work for today, and yeah, I hope you managed to get some plant chores done or maybe just chilled out with me. And yeah, thanks for watching today, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.